Today on the TMZ Podcast.
Welcome to the TMZ Podcast. Harvey Levin here.
Charlie Knapp here.
Courtney here.
And Fabian here.
Congratulations, Kim Kardashian.
Congrats, you finally did it.
Fourth time's a charm.
What are we?
She did not pass the bar.
She passed the baby bar, which is still pretty indicative of passing the actual bar.
No, it's not.
Look, listen.
Wait a minute. Are you going to believe Charlie Neff or me?
You're the only one who's been to law school
But what
and
is the baby
who's actually
bar
a
for?
lawyer. So
what is the baby bar for?
Why don't you school us a little bit? Explain what this means and what this accomplishment actually is.
Well,
because I don't get it.
Well, it's what she said. Look, I mean, it's great that she passed it. That's number one. I mean, listen, I'm always for people who are trying to advance in life and figure things out and do better and everything else.
Sure.
And I think Kim did that. And she's flunked this exam 3 times.
It's not easy.
No, it's not.
Wait, how long is it? What are the logistics of the test? Is it compared to the real bar?
Well,
what is
hold
this?
on.
What is it?
Let me just kind of walk through it. So
right.
it's a sit down exam, and you it is hard to pass because it's kind of an exception made for people who don't go to law school.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't go to law school, you can take what they call a baby bar, which essentially shows that you've done enough studying that will let you sit for the regular bar. It's very controversial. There are a lot of people, who are lawyers who say this shortcut is a dangerous idea.
So basically,
you need to go to school
if you
instead.
go to law school, you just take the bar.
Right.
You don't take a baby bar.
No.
Okay.
That's
so
the point.
So the baby bar is for the fast track. Like let me be a nurse in 3 weeks type of a thing.
Yeah,
or
this
And she
also
kind of
later in
hired
life.
somebody to like study with and to like help her prepare for this.
It is not a typical thing done because here's the problem with it. And then I want to get to what she said. The problem with it is when you go to law school for 3 years, there are things that happen in law school. I mean, I've been a student in law school and I've been a professor at several law schools.
Wow.
And so I know a lot about this. And what you do in 3 years is not just learn, but you learn how to think differently.
Right. And practice, right?
Well, look, I can tell you that even at TMZ, I use my legal training every single day in terms of reading something, critically analyzing it and
Right.
all. And it's something you learn in law school. You can't learn that when you short circuit something where you sit for a baby bar.
But if she has a professor coming to her house and like helping her learn, what's the
it's
difference?
not. It's not the same.
Let me
thing.
see if I can. If this is the right characterization. To me, this is just jamming in a ton of stuff to memorize and just to regurgitate it on paper.
No.
Like, it's almost
Isn't that any test?
No, but
not really. Because what
that's
he's
not-
saying is, if you go to law school, you are digesting and absorbing knowledge. You're practicing it over the course of several years. Like you're actually, you know what I mean?
She's been working on this for several years.
Yeah, but she's been working and failing at it for several years, and this is the fast track
Still
version.
working at it.
Okay, but hold on. It's not just memorizing and regurgitating. I mean, you do have to analyze things. So there is something to it. And I think it's great that she passed.
Yeah.
And I think it's great she's trying to improve herself. But
But she's doing it the short and cheap way.
Yeah, because she didn't.
Because she has time and money. She
didn't-
could easily just go to law school if she wanted.
She didn't go to college.
No. Yeah.
Oh, so you have to go to college? Is that how it
to
works?
go to
Yeah.
law
Okay,
school.
you,
Right.
you actually have a
Yeah.
degree in something. So
So-
Kim Kardashian doesn't have a degree. Okay,
So here's what she said.
just get that on the record.
Here's what she said. In fact, you read it because my eyes aren't good.
Oh God.
Oh my lord. Here we
Hold
go.
on. I was told by my top lawyers that this was a close to impossible journey and harder than the traditional and harder than the traditional law school route, but it was my only option and it feels so good to be here and on my way to achieving my goals. It's harder than the traditional
So you're
law
saying
school.
that's not true.
That
That's
can't
false.
be.
It's ridiculous.
It is.
Well, that's
Yeah.
just like, why even
It is-
add that?
It is absolutely
Well, I mean,
ridiculous
isn't there
also just
something
say
to
that.
like?
It's something
She doesn't have like people in the same class as her to kind of like bounce ideas off
No,
of. She's
she
like
doesn't.
in
I
this
feel
by
like it's what like
herself.
your parents tell you to make you feel better about you, like yourself. Like you
And
got
she has a whole
this.
team
No.
around her
Yeah.
that's doing exactly
Yeah.
that.
Let me just say, sitting for the baby bar is not nearly as rigorous as going to law school
But
for 3
No.
years.
Harvey, you didn't take the baby
Period.
bar, right?
But
No.
3 years of law school
But
compared to
Charlie,
this, it just
I
doesn't
know a
even
lot
seem.
about this because I've been on both sides of teaching and being a student, taking the bar exam. It is way more. By the way,
So-
the bar exam, and if
But
Kim,
isn't
if,
it meant
if,
to
if
kind
Kim,
of be like a stepping stone to see if you are eligible
No,
or like
no.
have the knowledge to take the actual bar?
no,
I'm
and
happy
no,
she
actually.
stuck with it.
Then what
Interesting.
is the baby bar for then?
The baby bar
To get
it's a short circuit for people who
It's a
don't go to
shortcut.
college.
It's
And
the-
so it's
It's the easy way out.
it's a shortcut. And look, it's not easy. And ultimately, she's going to have to sit for the bar exam in California.
Also, I was going to ask, when do you think she might do that
Well,
exactly?
she can do it twice a year. You can do it in February. You can do it in summer.
Hmm.
And 50% of the people flunk, sometimes
Jeez.
more. So if she passes the regular bar, my hat's going to be off to her because I think that is going to be really hard. Really hard for somebody who hasn't gone to law school. And if they do pass it, it really shows that she took this seriously.
A lot of
Yeah.
people don't pass it the first time. Did you pass it the first time, Harvey?
Yeah, Charlie.
Wow, Harvey did. Okay,
Way
I,
to go,
I have a
Harvey,
quick
gold
question.
star.
Just because you hear so much about curriculums these days, like kids these days just aren't learning as the teaching is just not as intense. The curriculum's not as intense. And I'm curious. I don't know if you keep up with like how's the bar exam doing these days, but I'm wondering do you think the bar exam of today, modern day bar exam, is watered down or maybe easier than it was in the old days when you had to actually learn good old fashioned law and like I don't know. What are your thoughts on
They
that?
did
I mean,
lower the number during
I-
COVID that
I-
you have to get to pass.
Really?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we learned that on Real Housewives of Orange County.
Are you?
Oh, wow.
Okay. I thought you were brushing up to take the bar,
okay.
Courtney.
Anyway, we'll see. We'll see if she passes.
Yeah,
it, but,
I mean, look, it's
But
a,
you know
it's an
what? When you
achievement.
said fourth time's a charm, I thought she got engaged because this would have been her fourth engagement. I was like, oh, yay, good for her.
Oh
no,
my
not
God,
engagement.
Tippy.
Just your fourth time for the baby.
Okay,
Yeah.
so this stuns me.
Bezos.
Yeah, I just
Oh.
do not understand how he can be so tone deaf
Yes.
So
That-
disconnected.
that there's a tornado on Friday night that kills 6 people at an Amazon plant.
In Kentucky, I believe,
Yes.
right? Yeah.
And then the next day, and I get it, that, Blue Origin went up with Michael Strahan.
that was already scheduled.
and it was already scheduled and he was going to be there, and that's great. But mention it, say something, show
Some
sympathy
compassion.
or
Right.
empathy. And nothing was said, nothing was shown all day long, except hugging Michael Strahan and celebrating and everything else when his plant was decimated. 6 of his employees were dead. He waited 24 hours before
Yeah.
saying anything. And it's just tone deaf.
Can I give you my theory on this?
Yeah.
So my theory is he was fully focused on the Blue Origin flight. Probably didn't even hear about the Amazon plant because he probably heard about tornadoes tearing through Kentucky. He's like, oh, that
I mean, it was
sucks.
huge
That's-
news over the
Yeah.
weekend.
It was, but he was so probably engulfed in this. Somebody probably eventually came to him with a headline
No
and
one
said,
on
"Hey,
his team is
our
checking
Am-
Twitter or anything the
well, then
entire time.
he's got a bad team then, I guess, because I'm
I-
sure somebody
I'm
eventually
sure
got the
he's
word to him
had
and
to
said,
He
"Hey,
had-
He
He
had
had
to
to
know.
know. He had to know.
you think so during
Absolutely.
the Blue Origin flight? You think he knew?
Remember, it happened Friday night.
Yeah.
It happened Friday night.
I guess.
And-
if that's
and-
true, then that's
and
a
Blue
terrible,
Origin
that's a
was
terrible look.
Sunday.
And Saturday night.
Saturday
Night he came out with a tweet, and he talked about how he was heartbroken, and the tweet was great, but it should have come
Earlier.
long before, and certainly at if as long as they're doing Blue Origin, somebody say like a moment of silence, do
Mhm.
something.
Yeah, good
So
point.
this kind of backs up my whole theory on Jeff Bezos and why I don't like him, because I'm always on here railing against Jeff Bezos. You're always defending Jeff Bezos for some reason. And this, to me, if this is true that he was aware of it during the flight, this is where his head is at. This is what he's thinking about. He just wants to get people up into space. He wants to push his space tourism, and he just wants. It's not. He's a bad guy. He's not a good guy.
I
This
don't
is
think
not.
he's not a bad
It's
guy.
just
Yeah.
so
He's a
tone
super
deaf.
villain. This guy's a
He's
super
not
villain.
a bad
Oh,
guy. Come
boy.
on, Fabian.
I don't think he's a bad guy.
Fabian,
But,
come on.
well,
So what
I
do you-
just
how do
also
you-
didn't like it because did you see like Lauren Sanchez and them posting like flying to the Blue Origin in their helicopter? It's like don't even like it was just so you guys were checking social media. You guys know about it. So why like
And
post
she was
it?
a
Because they're
former
they're
reporter,
shitty
too.
people.
Yeah.
That's why. Maybe not bad people, but they're shitty people. You can be a shitty person.
Okay,
Is that? Can you say
let's
that?
slow it down.
But how-
I don't think that's true.
All
I
right.
don't think that's true. I mean, look, he gives a lot of money to charity. He does
That's-
a lot of good. He does a lot of good things.
And when you have money like that, immediately people are going to pick apart everything you do.
Yeah,
Right, but
people-
They're going
in
to turn
moments-
you into a
Fabian-
villain.
But in
to
moments
get
like
money
these
out.
where it actually matters, and it
Yeah.
would mean something if you came out and said something from the heart in a timely manner. He didn't though. That's what I'm saying. Like these
I mean,
big.
technically, it was what, one day later?
Yeah, it's
I
one
mean,
day
I
later, but
agree,
these
it's one day
big
too late, but-
money donations are empty to me. I don't know how you guys can interpret it any other way. They're just empty. He's a guy who
But
has.
then what can he do? Yeah, I mean,
He can do stuff like this. Come out at the right time.
No, I
speak.
get it.
That would show character.
But here's the problem.
Throwing money around shows no
right.
character to me.
Here's the problem. You were railing on him before this happened. So
Yeah.
So
So now this only confirms my bias against him.
No. But so forgetting about this just for a minute, why are you railing on him and saying that it's empty? It's just an empty a thought when you give billions of dollars to charity, which is what you had a problem with, even when he was doing it. What can this guy do beyond what he's doing?
I mean, he
to
could
contribute to the
easily,
world?
if he showed up today to, where all the damage is, meeting with families of the victims,
Yeah,
like
that'd be
on the
nice.
scene
No, I
with
get
like
it.
the hard hat, the whole thing.
Sure.
I would
It's
be like,
performative,
wow,
but
okay,
it's,
great.
it's kind of necessary. But,
Yeah, agreed.
Anyway,
Anyway.
look, he's not a villain. I mean, but he.
I feel like if
but-
he did show up,
but
he would
he
still have
made-
on a spacesuit.
he made
Like
it-
he can't get out of it.
He made a huge mistake.
Yeah, it was a gaffe.
I mean,
The stories were
honestly,
terrible.
I think bigger than a gaffe. This
Sure.
was a really bad look. Okay, Steve Harvey.
Speaking of gaffes.
Oh my God.
I love Steve Harvey.
So Steve Harvey hosted Miss Universe yet again last night. And while he did not mistakenly announce the wrong winner this time, he did something that was pretty cringeworthy. So the eventual winner, Harnaz Sandhu from India, Miss India, this is before she had actually won. She was one of the finalists, and he was going around interviewing all of them. And out of all the ones he interviewed, she was the only one where he kind of, no, he didn't ridicule her, but he made her look kind of stupid and goofy on stage. He was reading his cue
Well,
card.
here we have the sound. Let's
Sure.
hear this.
I hear you do some pretty good animal impersonations. Yeah, they got that question. Let's hear your best one.
Oh my God, Steve, I was not expecting to do this on world stage, but I have to do this. I have no other option. I love cats. I love animals. I would love to mimic a cat. Brace yourself, everyone. But I have to say this, Steve, that, this talent made me realize that we should never compromise with our hobbies because that can lead to your dream career.
What was that?
I-
What was the
Oh
last
my
thing she said?
gosh.
She said we should never compromise our hobbies because they
Gonna
might end up
lead
leading to your dream career, which is like a throwaway nothing line.
Yeah.
Fine.
But like he had to figure out that she had that talent somewhere, so she put it somewhere in the information.
Oh no,
He
he
did.
knew,
Yeah,
and
so-
she said it.
So it's like why are people
So
like mad?
The criticism is apparently he went around and interviewed other finalists in that little segment, that little moment. He went and interviewed
Right.
some other women. He didn't ask them about some stupid little talent
He
of
asked
theirs.
them
He
about like their accomplishments.
But
things
if you
of
see that on
merit.
someone's card that they make weird animal sounds, don't you kind of want to know what the animal sound is?
Maybe,
Yes,
I
Like,
don't
it's
know.
for like TV.
But
I
she
mean, he
kinda-
probably has somebody in his ear, producers talking to him throughout the whole thing, telling him, "Hey,"
and she
whatever.
won. It
So-
didn't hurt her.
Exactly. That's the poetic justice of this. She was sort of like made to look like a fool, in my opinion, on stage because that was cringeworthy. The whole
It was
cat,
really
because it went on for
cringeworthy.
the cat.
But also
it
she
was like
didn't
4
really-
meows, 4 or 5
But
meows.
she
That was-
got
that was
into
a
it.
lot.
That's her doing. She wanted to get into
She
it. She even
did.
put her
She
paws
She
up.
could have meowed once.
She
Yeah.
could.
But
She
I just
could've.
don't like how she set it up, where she's like, "Oh, I didn't know you were gonna ask me
I
this.
actually like that. To
brace
me,
yourself."
that was sort of graceful because it was silly and stupid. But she's like, you know what? If I'm gonna do something silly and stupid, let me just say it's silly and stupid and embrace yourself. So I actually appreciated that. But it's funny because it paid off in the end. She ended up
won.
winning. Maybe the judges felt so bad, like, oh, that was terrible. We should just give
No,
her,
it shows
just give
like
her
her
the crown.
personality. It was fun.
As a
I-
cat lover, I thought
honestly,
she did pretty good.
I don't have a problem with Steve
No.
Harvey asking it.
Me neither.
I mean, it's not supposed to be exactly the same for everybody.
Right.
And it was kind of fun. And you know what? She had to think on her feet
Mhm.
on how she was going to say it. And she
Right.
was actually great.
Yeah.
I mean, just the way she kind of set it up.
Yeah, she carried it
brace
well.
yourself.
Yeah.
She really did.
Yeah.
And so he kind of set her up to succeed.
Yeah, and like everyone, I'm not as upset about this as people on.
Of course people-
online.
of
Yeah,
course
people are like,
people
oh my
are
god,
upset.
it's culturally
Oh,
insensitive.
no.
People said culturally.
Really?
Yes.
Oh.
I feel like I've
What's
never heard
culturally
you say that
insensitive
before.
about it?
I'm
It's
not
like,
that
It's like our
upset.
cats. Like I don't understand. That's just weird, but people are going to be mad about anything.
Anyway, I thought it was fine. Okay, we are going to move on. This is so scary. Kylie Jenner. I mean, this doesn't sound scary on the surface, but put yourself in her shoes. So she has a house in the LA area. She has a bunch. And a neighbor came, or excuse me, and some guy, an obsessed fan comes by, thinks he's at her house. He's actually at a neighbor's. And he's there to propose marriage. And he's got flowers, and he is delusional, and he's trespassing. And he gets arrested for misdemeanor trespassing.
Right.
So he goes to jail for about 20 minutes, and he's out.
Released, yeah.
And now what does she do? And, you've got these obsessed fans, and they don't really follow a restraining order.
No.
And so what do you do?
We do stories. We do
all
these
the
restraining
time.
all the time. Like literally a few times a month, I'd say, for a Kardashian somewhere, whether it's Kim, Kendall, Kylie. She's always one. I don't know what you do. I don't know, bigger gates? What I'm curious about is how these people end up finding their addresses so easily.
Well, did the
is it that easy to find their address online?
Yeah, I
Damn.
mean,
Did the neighbor's security call the
with,
cops? Like, who called the cops on this guy? Was it Kylie's security or the neighbors?
Well, I'm not sure
If he was on the neighbor's property,
because he was on the
presumably.
neighbor's
Yeah.
property.
That's also scary for her neighbors because now it's just like, I'm not even like safe on my own property because of who I live
Look,
next
I mean,
to.
Right.
the Kardashians, I think every single one of them has had an intruder.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Kendall
for
has,
sure.
Kim has, Chris has,
Multiple
Kylie
times.
has,
Multiple times.
Scott Disick has.
Mhm.
And so, what do you do? I mean, and also the overlay here is crime is really bad in
Oh,
the
don't
city.
even get me
Yeah.
started. Because you guys have been talking. We've been, the LA crime thing going on right now has been a topic of much discussion. We can't get that. It's sort of related, but like this has been going on even before the boom, in my opinion. But
Yeah, but it still even probably has to be more scary for her now, especially because she's pregnant and she also
she
has
is
like
pregnant. That's right.
Yeah, so it's
Very
like
pregnant.
And
extra.
also, if you're like rich in general, you're going to be targeted. So someone can easily break in that doesn't even know who she is, just
Right.
are targeting like a
you probably
big
just have to
house.
hire 24-hour security on your own.
Well, she
like,
has.
'cause you,
I mean, she had security. I mean, look, they live in gated communities. Yet,
but that's
mean,
not
do-
even enough.
do you remember with? I think it was Kendall, or no, it was Kylie, where they climbed. Where
The
this guy-
mountain?
the guy climbed the mountainside,
Yeah.
got
That
into her
was scary.
backyard,
Jesus
and
Christ.
then when he was shooed off, somehow got around to her front door a second pass.
Yeah.
It's
So
insane.
these gated communities are not what they're cracked
Whatever
up to
happened
be.
to just good old fashioned spiky metal gates where you just the ones that are really
Like
tall,
medieval?
spiky
Do you want
gates.
them to have a moat
What?
around their house?
Why not just put some barbed
alligators?
wire? I know that sounds extreme, but like just
Oh,
put some
God.
barbed wire around your gates or
That's
whatever.
not pretty, Fabian.
Who cares?
Well, here's the problem.
Especially for the Christmas time, the barbed wire
They-
looks decorative.
They-
It looks
they-
festive.
Some lights
they
on it.
They
God,
live in
what?
gated communities, and
Yeah.
there are regulations. You can't do that.
Get some
Yeah.
electric fences. Or
I know
something.
it's
don't
really
know.
bad. Okay, final thing. I love. Yeah, I'll tell you.
Peloton.
I thought Peloton was so dumb for not asking for the script on just like that.
Right, the Sex and the City reboot.
And their stock went down because Mr. Big had this heart attack on the Peloton.
Right.
So I think they have turned this around
They have.
in such a cool way.
With
Yeah.
help of Ryan Reynolds.
To new beginnings.
To new beginnings. You look great.
I feel great. Should we take another ride? Life's too short not to.
And just like that, the world was reminded that regular cycling stimulates and improves your heart, lungs, and circulation, reducing your risk of cardiovascular diseases. Cycling strengthens your heart muscles, lowers resting pulse, and reduces blood fat levels. He's alive.
That's
He's
so
alive.
funny.
That's amazing.
So first of all, they got not only Ryan Reynolds to narrate it, which he's the top of the top for ads. He's all over ads everywhere these
Oh, I
days.
love
He's the
him.
king.
He's
charming.
He's the king of
likable.
commercials right now. But they also got Chris Noth, the guy, Mr. Big, who died in the show.
Right.
They got Chris Noth, who's back alive. They got Jess King, who's the Peloton instructor in the show. They got the same music that was playing during the death scene, and it was the same type of setting. So it was very funny. And I honestly think the Sex and the City people, they weren't out to like do this to Peloton. I don't think they were intending to.
He
Oh, God,
technically,
no.
he
No.
technically didn't have a heart attack on the bike.
Yeah,
he
it
like
was
was on the
after.
bike,
Well, the bike-
got off,
the-
But people
Yeah,
still,
away,
they connected the
shower.
two.
The bike
yeah.
triggered the heart attack.
Yeah, they connected
The
the two,
exercise, yeah.
and I'm sure the Sex and the City team got together and like with Peloton quickly because they did this in a matter of days.
Yeah.
They turned it around and it made for a funny viral moment. The funny thing to me was that how serious Peloton came out because they put out a statement from like a representative somewhere saying, "Oh, Big didn't die from the Peloton. He was living
He had
No.
he had a luxurious
life.
lifestyle.
Yeah.
He was smoking
Cocktails.
cigars.
Wait a minute, you think-
drinking
Wait, 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 wait.
cocktails. So
You-
it was years of heart disease and hypertension.
Wait.
And the Peloton actually could have saved him if he would have gotten on it earlier. That's what they were saying.
Wait a minute. You thought that was serious?
I don't know. I mean,
that was hysterical.
That was
You missed the joke.
Well, that's the thing.
Well, I mean,
jokes
it was serious.
Jokes don't come through. You read things literally.
Oh my
it's
God.
hard to read
What
things.
do you mean?
It's
It
hard
was
to-
so funny.
I took
And
it. I thought they were being serious. Like, oh no,
Jeez.
Mr. Big died because of the
Fabian.
cocktails.
Oh my God.
And all the sex he
Oh my
was
God!
having.
Thank
like,
God you didn't
Why
write
was-
that
I
piece.
know.
Oh my
And
God!
why did you read
Well-
it so angry?
I know.
because their stock was
Fabian,
actually
it was
dropping.
a
so it was
joke.
It was.
hysterical.
It turned. Maybe it was a joke.
It
Who
was
knows?
a joke.
was.
But it was a serious situation because their stock was dropping. They were getting a lot of bad press, a lot of and whether it was
But
warranted or not, people were.
they leaned into it
Yes.
with some humor.
And then they double leaned into it with this, which is
this is great.
It was good.
I think this was spectacular on Peloton's part. Good job, Peloton.
Yeah,
I
that
know.
was, I'm not
okay.
going to buy one, but good
Well,
job.
that's not because of this. That's just because you can't afford it.
Exactly.
I have a Peloton,
You
Do you really?
and I haven't
Since when?
I haven't used it in like
a
8
long
months.
time. Yeah,
Oh.
because you haven't talked about it in a while.
You're more of a swimmer
I
instead of
swim.
a.
You
I
can give
know.
it to me.
Yeah, we'll take it.
Okay, we're
All
gonna
right.
we will break right now.
Yeah.
So you can listen to TMZ's podcast just about anywhere.
Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts.
Google.
Also on YouTube.
Yes, we're on YouTube.
Yeah.
And we will talk to you Wednesday, folks.
Yes.
Bye, guys.
Take it easy.